A little like, ooh, but all right. If the question comes, I'm gonna be there to answer it. Like, I've already done this too many times to even be too worried about it.
Don't step that way. Here. Don't step that way. We're gonna fight for that way. Hey. What's good, Ted?
Ryan Garcia is a hell of a puncher. He's very explosive, dangerous hook, very dangerous. Everybody know that hook done knock a buffalo out. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
He probably throw a hook more like mine than anybody seen.
Yeah.
He got that one punch shock on that left hook, deadly, and then he understands how to throw it. So yeah, that's where he is.
This is a much different version of myself, as you can see in my energy. And, you could see, how taking care of your body, being a real athlete and showing a good example, you're going to see that this fight.
Inside the training facility, Ryan Garcia hones the weapon that's defined his career. A left hook built on instinct, now being sculpted into precision. Under the watchful eye of Roy Jones Jr., every repetition carries purpose. It's not about throwing harder, it's about throwing smarter. Jones refines the timing, the angles, the split-second decisions that separate a good punch from a fight-ending blow. With Mario Barrios waiting on the other side, Garcia knows this isn't just preparation, it's reconstruction.
Camp, we've been keeping it pretty with the same kind of pattern. We wake up around 8:30 and then head to the strength and conditioning gym. We lift weights, we do conditioning drills, sprints, all that stuff. Then we take a minor 10-minute break, and then we head to boxing.
Today we're here strengthening, conditioning, fine-tuning for the last stretch. Make sure that the body feels right and that we are strong. Keep that pace. 30 seconds. Last 30 seconds.
Attaboy.
Jones Jr. breaks down the mechanics of a punch that most fighters never truly master. The left hook isn't brute force, it's architecture. Balance must be rooted in the legs, timing synced with the opponent's rhythm, and hip rotation channeled through the entire kinetic chain. Jones emphasizes keeping the guard intact even as the punch is released. A fighter who drops their hand while throwing is a fighter asking to get countered. Every element must work in concert, or the punch becomes a liability instead of a weapon. Shifts focus to the delivery itself, the explosion. Power isn't generated by muscle alone, it's summoned through speed, timing, and the ability to transfer energy cleanly from the ground up. Accuracy determines whether a punch lands clean or glances off ineffectively, and while offense wins rounds, defense wins fights. A fighter must never abandon responsibility for their own protection, even in the act of attacking. The best punchers, Jones insists, are also the most disciplined defenders. When Roy Jones Jr. speaks about Ryan Garcia's left hook, there's no hesitation in his assessment. He calls it devastating, a punch that carries fight-altering consequences. In a sport where power is often overstated, Jones recognizes the real thing. He labels Garcia as an exceptional puncher, possessing one of the sharpest hooks the division has seen in years. Coming from a man who rewrote the rules of power and speed in his own era, that endorsement carries weight.
He's a hell of a puncher. He's very explosive, dangerous hook, very dangerous. Everybody know that hook done knock a buffalo out. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
He probably throw a hook more like mine than anybody seen.
Yeah.
He got that one punch shock on that left hook, deadly, and then he understands how to throw it. So yeah. That's where he is.
Jones offers a fundamental truth about boxing that separates contenders from champions. Technique outlasts conditioning. A fighter can run for miles, drill until exhaustion, and still collapse under pressure if their fundamentals are flawed. Stamina might carry someone through the early rounds, but when fatigue sets in and instincts take over, only refined skill keeps a fighter standing. The final bell belongs to those who mastered their craft, not just their fitness.
Technique, then conditioning. Nowadays, fighters are more into strength and conditioning than technique. How that happened was people started getting lazy with technique. So they would have technique, like you have a lot of guys that would have a technique, but they wouldn't be conditioned. So they come to the ring, they look good for a few rounds, then they die off. The better conditioned guy win the fight. So what started happening was a lot of guys that had technique were getting beat by guys that didn't have the same technique, but had better conditioning. So what happens? Boxing transitioned from a skill sport to a better conditioning sport. So now people forget about technique, but they work on more on condition. Condition becomes the priority.
Ryan Garcia doesn't hide from his past. He admits that focus escaped him in previous years, scattered across distractions that had nothing to do with boxing, late nights, outside noise, people with agendas. It all pulled him away from the discipline required at this level. He acknowledges that he let the chaos in, and it cost him momentum, but recognition is the first step toward correction.
Suspension. It was much different circumstances. You know, I was coming off a suspension, and during that suspension, I was drinking and partying and doing whatever I want for all the way through until they told me that I had to fight. My instincts told me not to. My body wasn't well, you know. It had a lot of toxins in it, as you could imagine. A lot of stupid shit I did. But you know, when you have a lot of people in your ear and people are telling you can make $5 million, it's an easy fight, and you know, but you know internally that it's not the right decision, and I didn't trust my heart and didn't trust my instincts, and I paid the price for it.
So you say that you knew that it was not the right thing to do. Was there a moment in training camp or the week of the fight where you thought, man, I really think I might lose?
Oh, every day.
Really?
Every day.
Now, Garcia describes a shift. The distractions have been cleared out. The people around him are aligned with his goals, not their own. Accountability has replaced excuses. Discipline has replaced impulse. He feels centered in a way he hasn't in years, and that clarity shows in how he moves, trains, and speaks. When a fighter rediscovers their purpose, it changes everything, not just in camp, but in the ring.
I'm gonna have to lose 30 pounds, remember how to box, and try to get sharp all in 2 months. And I don't even know how my body's gonna react. And it wasn't reacting. Every 2 days, it would just shut down. Runs didn't feel right. Nothing felt correct as it should. And I'm not blaming anybody. You come to find out, you know, whatever was happening in the Haney fight, it will never be replicated again. You can't do that. I still don't know
that was crazy, yeah.
How I was able to drink and do whatever I wanted and somehow still win. I just wanted to make a mockery of Devin Haney.
Roy Jones Jr. doesn't just see talent when he watches Ryan Garcia. He sees entertainment value, the kind that transcends records and rankings. Garcia brings an energy that makes fights feel consequential regardless of the opponent's name. That's rare. Most fighters need the perfect matchup to generate interest. Garcia generates it on his own. Jones recognizes that quality, and he respects it. In a sport where personality often matters as much as performance, Garcia has both.
Get your head off to that kid, because he's one that's out there doing like what I used to do. He's fighting them all. He don't care who they are, where they are. If he get paid for it, he'll fight. And that's a beautiful thing. That is what boxing has been missing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't care who he fights. It's going to be an instant fight, and he has a chance to beat anybody because he's dead.
Chris Algieri dives into the complexity of Ryan Garcia's situation, acknowledging that no two fighter-trainer dynamics are identical. Garcia's case is especially layered. The relationship between a fighter and their coach is less about cultural tradition and more about personality compatibility. History shows that father-son combinations can work. Robert Garcia with his father, even Roy Jones Jr. under his father's guidance. But success isn't guaranteed. When two strong personalities collide, the partnership can fracture. Ryan's father carries a commanding presence, much like Ryan himself, that could either create alignment or tension. Algieri points to Floyd Mayweather and his uncle as proof that when the personalities sync, greatness follows.
I think Every case is its own. Every case is unique, and Ryan is especially unique. Champ, you mentioned cultural versus personality. I think it's much more personality than culture, because we've seen culturally it work with Mexican father-son duos. I mean, we have Robert Garcia here. His father trained him, and Mikey Garcia. It worked, And then you've got, even like Roy Jones versus Floyd Mayweather. Roy Jones's father, butting heads. Floyd and his father butting heads. Uncle worked out great. Roger and Floyd worked out beautifully. But the fathers, they hit heads together. Then you got, even today, you got Naoya Inoue and his father. His father's fantastic. Trains both him and his brother, and to great success. And it seems like doesn't seem like there's much friction there, at least that we've seen. So I don't think it's so much cultural as much as it is personality. And in terms of the personalities, Ryan has a very large personality. And apparently so does his father.
Algieri continues, noting that Garcia has recently struggled with structure. Discipline and training has been inconsistent, and his approach has leaned informal, working out in casual settings, surrounded by distractions rather than focus. The hope is that his father can guide him back to the disciplined framework that once elevated his performance. If they can reconcile their approaches and lean into their shared history, Garcia could rediscover the version of himself that dominated before the distractions took hold. The potential is still there. The question is whether the environment will support it.
Lean back on their history, to which case Ryan could actually perform at a very high level again. In recent form, Ryan has had a lot of trouble with coaching. Listening to what he's going to do, showing up to the gym, he'd rather train. It seems like he's in his living room, wearing sweatpants and whoever's around with influencers. Maybe his father can crack him out of that and get him back to a more traditional training style like we've seen him in the past, when he was on a really good run at some point, at a point a few years ago where he looked like he really could take over, and then things kind of fell off. So possibly the father-son duo this time could work once again, because it has worked in the past.
When you look at this, all we need now is a coach with some experience. Oh, we have Coach Robert Garcia. What's the secret sauce here? Is there one? Is it about knowing when to be dad and when to be coach? Is there a secret here? Is it just, as the guys have pointed out, a matter of person?
Analysts have identified a tactical vulnerability in Ryan Garcia that could prove costly against Mario Barrios. Despite his undeniable talent and marketability, his recent performances reveal cracks in his tactical foundation. Skill and star power don't always translate to ring intelligence. His last loss, one that many believe should have positioned him differently, exposed the gap between commercial appeal and competitive execution. The concern isn't about his ability, it's about his adaptability.
That's Tank Davis, elite level counterpuncher. That's Luke Campbell, Olympic gold medalist. They're much more talented fighters than Mario Barrios. But then I take you to his most recent outing, and he lost this fight. It's the reason people are like, how on earth does he have a world title shot in his next fight? Well, that's what being good looking in a massive commercial pool does for you. But I take you to the Rolly Romero fight, and Romero is okay, but he's not an elite level fighter in my opinion. But he was someone who had sparred a lot of rounds with Ryan Garcia and understood Ryan Garcia as a fighter. And again, he shows you the way here with effective counterpunching and isolating those weaknesses of Ryan Garcia. So what you'll see here in the Romero fight, and what I really like about Rolly here, is that he's not afraid of Ryan Garcia rushing him. And Ryan Garcia wants to do what Ryan Garcia does. Those things we explained before. He likes to press the action. And it's early in the fight. And this made him so apprehensive for the rest of the fight that he lost. As you can see, Ryan Garcia, he steps into the fight here. And even though Ryan Garcia is right in front of him, Rolly knows Ryan's probably looking for that lead hook.
The Rolly Romero fight illustrates this concern. Romero, far from elite, had sparred extensively with Garcia and understood his patterns. He exploited Garcia's tendencies, countering his aggression and neutralizing his rhythm. Garcia's usual strategy, pressuring forward and imposing his will, played directly into Romero's game plan. Early on, Romero's tight defense and calculated counters made Garcia hesitant, and that hesitation lingered for the rest of the bout. Romero's discipline, his high guard, his positioning, all of it neutralized Garcia's most dangerous weapon, the left hook. Against Barrios, a fighter with similar tactical awareness, that same vulnerability could resurface unless Garcia adjusts.
Later in the Romero fight, because Ryan Garcia was expected to beat Rolly Romero, he's not seen as being the best operator out there, Rolly Romero. And I guess it shows you that a fighter who's not even top level can exploit Ryan Garcia with the right game plan. So can Mario Barrios do it? And what can Ryan Garcia do about it? Can he change? Can he fix these problems? Well, even though I don't think he's particularly consistent with his counter-punching Barrios, he has shown in moments he can do it. And so if Ryan Garcia remains the same, I think there's a chance he can execute this. I'll show you in this fight here against Akhmedov, when Barrios was down at super lightweight. Watch here. So he steps in with the jab, which misses. Akhmedov then returns with his own backhand, which Barrios pulls back from. And then in that moment, you can see his right hand here is away from his chin, a la Ryan Garcia, I suppose you could say. Barrios catches him with a counter left hook, which is the exact position that Ryan Garcia has been a little bit weakened, and he touches down there Akhmedov. Against Ugas, we see him land a nice counter jab here as Ugas fires his jab, he catches it, throws his own jab up.
Tim Bradley dissects the Garcia-Barrios matchup with sharp insight. He highlights the advantage Barrios gains from his coach, Goosen, who has studied Garcia's tendencies and understands where the openings are. That knowledge could be the difference. Barrios isn't elite in any single category, but he's competent across the board. Counterpunching, fighting off the back foot, slipping shots, blocking and returning fire. His jab is solid, his right hand carries power, and his left hook is reliable. That combination makes him dangerous from the opening bell to the final round.
Things I want to start off with, the coach, Goosen's in Barrios' corner. That's going to be interesting in the sense that fact that Goosen knows Ryan Garcia. He knows his Achilles heel, man. He knows it. And, Goosen knows he has a horse that is not only tough, but he's well-rounded. Mario Barrios can fight a little bit, fight off the back foot a little bit. He can do a little bit of everything. Counter punch, slip counters, blocking shoots, catching shoots. Like he got a bag. He does. He's average in every single department. Got a really good jab, a hell of a right hand, man. That right hand is gonna be money for him in this fight. I would also say the left hook, to be honest with you. I think one of the most ironic things about Ryan Garcia is you never want to hook with a hooker, but as I follow the evolution of him in this.
Bradley zeroes in on a specific threat. Barrios landing his left hook on Garcia. While Garcia has developed his own left hook into a formidable weapon, he remains vulnerable to it defensively. Bradley recalls other fighters who excelled offensively with the left hook, Devin Haney, even Oscar De La Hoya, but struggled when it came back at them. That's the tactical irony Garcia faces. The punch he relies on most could be the one that exposes him. Defense, awareness, and adaptation will determine whether Garcia controls the fight or walks into something he didn't see coming.
Get buzzed by the left hook. Barrios isn't a bad puncher. He's a pretty good, solid puncher. But the left hook is dangerous to punch with Ryan Garcia with the left hook. However, I've seen Haney do it. I don't know, for some apparent reason, guys that know how to throw that left hook, they sucker for left hooks themselves. I remember De La Hoya being a sucker for the left hook as well. They're really good at landing their left hook, but shit, they don't do well with taking one in return. But the punch for Barrios is the right hand. And he will have opportunities to land it on Ryan Garcia, because Ryan, he shoots his jab and he brings his hand back low. And then he stands up tall as well. So he's always having his, chin, straight up in the air. And, most of the times he'll flick the jab out there or shoot the jab out there, and then he looks to get out of range.
Garcia reflects on the difficulties of his recent camp with raw honesty. He admits he couldn't sustain hard training for more than 2 days straight. His body resisted every run, every drill. He repeatedly checked his health markers, realizing that the weight gain and past habits still lingered in his system. He recalls being caught by a double hook in a previous fight. He wasn't hurt, but watching it back later, he felt disconnected, like he was watching someone else. Now he makes a promise to himself and his father. Every time he steps into the ring, he'll show the version of himself that belongs there. No excuses, no half measures.
Because in the training camp, I couldn't train hard or good for more than 2 days straight. My body would be like rejecting a run, rejecting anything I was doing. It was like, damn, like what's wrong with me? I kept checking my blood, I kept checking everything, like, whoa, something's going on. Like, I didn't realize that, all the stupid you did throughout the year, it's hard to get out of your system in 2 months, and you're 30 pounds up and your body ain't gonna be moving like a system. So it was just a big disconnect, but I didn't realize it at the time. It was just like, oh, I gotta do this. And I tried to make way what I had. He caught me with a shot.
Oh my gosh. A double hook, short hook, caught Ryan right on the chin, dropped him.
It was more of a push on the second shot. He caught me one shot and then kind of pushed me, knocked me over.
Max Kellerman and Robert Garcia offered candid reactions to the Garcia-Barrios announcement, both emphasizing that talent without preparation is a gamble. Garcia possesses elite physical gifts and technical ability, but his recent training habits have raised red flags. Robert Garcia pointed out that inconsistent discipline and informal training environments limit a fighter's ceiling, no matter how naturally gifted they are.
With his dad, which I'm not saying the dad is not, the dad brought him through the amateurs, but when he left his dad or went to seek a different trainer, before he came back to that, he went through 3 different trainers.
Wow.
That means what do you mean? All 3 are not good enough to, they're all 3
Here's the
best in the world.
Here's the question. Did Ryan Garcia ever allow those trainers to be the boss?
That's why he's back with his dad, because he's the boss. That's why.
Yeah.
Look, Joe Goosen, I know Joe Goosen. My brother used to train with him. He's not going to just let you get away with stuff like that. Derrick James neither. Eddie Reynoso doesn't need. He's made so much money with Canelo that if you want to come to me, it's going to be under my rules. And if that didn't work, then Ryan's back. So that's I give that big advantage to Barrios to even put.
Kellerman echoed that sentiment, stressing that talent alone doesn't guarantee success, especially against a well-rounded opponent like Barrios. The fight will test more than Garcia's skill. It will test his focus, his work ethic, his ability to adapt under pressure. Robert Garcia reinforced the need for structure, for a disciplined routine that maximizes what Garcia is capable of. Both acknowledged the significance of Garcia's father returning to his corner. Strong coaching paired with genuine effort could overcome the struggles of the past. The consensus was clear. Garcia's performance won't be decided by talent. It will be decided by how seriously he takes his preparation and whether he can maintain that seriousness from camp to fight night.
About boxing, and Big Baby Miller pointed it out, because there's no structure. And hopefully that'll happen with Zuffa Boxing, and I am a part of Zuffa Boxing, full disclosure. The first fight coming up on the 23rd.
Oh, congrats, man. Congrats.
But you need some kind of.
On that card,
there you go. You need some kind of.
Right?
So the undercard has not been announced yet, but yeah, we could talk about
what his names, but yeah.
But we need some kind of structure. In the NFL, the guy has to sit there for the media interview. He shows up on time. Yep. He's got to do it. Yep. And to give you an NFL analogy, think about the Broncos, right? When they had Russell Wilson over there and he had his own office and everything, and it was nothing. It was dysfunctional. Then they hired Sean Payton.
Cut it out.
As a coach, that's like going to train with Goosen or going to train with a world-class trainer, right? And you knew as soon as Sean Payton got there, no one's going to have their own office.
That's it for today's video, so stay tuned until next time.